In our last video, we continued to look at market principles, and in particular, we looked at market principles on a single time frame candlestick. Now, the time frame was irrelevant, as we spoke about, but we got to see the supply and demand dynamics play out within that time frame and within that candle. So in today's video, we're going to look at market principles. We're going to continue with market principles, part 4, and we're going to look at some chart examples this time. So our very first chart, right down the bottom here, we can see straight away we have, with our first green candle, we have a bullish engulfing pattern, which we won't go into the types of patterns at this point in time, but straight away we can see, when we look at our 2-bar pattern here, we can see that the second bar, the green bar, has completely engulfed the first one, and we can see that demand has come into price, or into the market, whereby the demand has completely overwhelmed the supply for this particular period. And we can see where price is closed, and it's clearly closed above the red candle. So when we continue to look on, the very next candle has displayed an open, price has barely moved down, and price has moved and it's closed right at the very high. This candle is known as a Marabozu candle, whereby the close price is the high price for the day. So we can say just from these 2 candles, and in particular this one candle, we can see here that demand has well and truly overwhelmed supply for this period. So we can now say that there's bullish pressure upon this market. We can say that there is bullish sentiment here, which has led to the bullish order flow. So then our next few candles moving on, we can see we're continuing up. We can see demand is overwhelming supply. We still have bullish sentiment. We can see this candle here, there's been a little bit of a sell down where the supply has overcome demand for a intra candle during the period, but we've managed to close back at the high. So there's a little bit of selling pressure, a little bit of bearish sentiment, not much, but then we can see prices come straight back and closed. We can see prices then continued on and created another decent impulsive or green candle. So then we look at the very next price, and we can price bar or candle, and we can see that price has moved down intra candle. So the supply has overwhelmed demand intra candle, but then demand has come back and managed to close at the same price as the high. But we can see there is some bearish sentiment evident here, but we can see that the bullish sentiment is still present and able to close at the back at the open price. The very next candle, however, is slightly different, whereby price has opened, bearish pressure has been applied, so the supply has overwhelmed the demand for the period. We have some bullish sentiment has come in, managed to close price just, say, 2/3 down the candle, but we have to say over this period that supply has been greater than the demand. So we have a little bit of bearish sentiment here. We can see, however, that since the high price here, we can see that price really has just created a low momentum or very weak sort of pullback structure here. So even though supply is evident, we can see that it is certainly not greater than the momentum of this swing. So we'll go into momentum later in later modules, but we just need to take note of this here. We can see the very next candle, price is open, demand has overwhelmed supply, is greater than supply, and we can see that bullish sentiment is now led to bullish order flow. So this bullish sentiment has continued all the way up to this candle here, where we have price has opened, supply has created the high here, demand has created the high, supply has come in, and we've closed down at this point here. But we've also traded down during the day, so there has been some supply has come into the market. So that's a little bit of a warning. And we can see evidence here then that this has been the correct warning or correct indication. We can see that once again, we have a very similar candle to the one that we've got here. So we can see prices push down, Supply has overwhelmed demand. Demand has come back, but it hasn't managed, when compared to the previous candle, hasn't managed to really push prices and closing prices any higher. So we can see the evidence of this. So this would put us on alert. This one would certainly put us on alert, and this one even more so. Then we can see here the price has opened. Supply has been well and truly greater than demand. Pushed to the low. Then buyers have stepped back in and pushed price slightly back higher. Intra candle. So we can say for this candle here, supply is greater than demand. We can say that the bearish sentiment within this candle has led to the bearish order flow. The very next few candles, we can see that there's a bit of equilibrium here, a bit of indecision where prices really hasn't gone anywhere. So the range of these candles is very low. We have another attempt here. We can see the supply is coming in, an attempt to start to break down. And we can see the very next candle, price does actually push down, but we see here now that demand has come back in. Demand has led us to where demand is greater than supply. It led us to bullish sentiment, which has led to bullish order flow. So we can see where prices closed to the high here on the green candle. And we can see just from this one candle, we can see the price swing through here is very mild. This one's very mild, and this is very mild through here. But we can see the close of this candle here. We can see that there's a real change of sentiment. So it's only natural we would expect this to continue, where the bullish sentiment would continue. So we can see we have an inside bar here. There's a little bit of supply has come in. We can see we have another bit of an indecision equilibrium bar, but then we can see the bullish sentiment has continued through. We have another price swing here, where for a brief couple of candles, or one candle in particular, we can see that the supply has overwhelmed the demand, or the buyers managed to push it down. But we can see here that demand has come back in and closed in the top half of the candle. So we can see that prices, buyers have come back in and closed price up, and certainly within this body. We can see here an inside bar, so really certainly no change of trend. So we can see a lot of indecision. And once again, we can see demand has come in, overwhelmed supply. We can see that during this candle, the bullish sentiment has led to price rising. And we can see where prices closed here. So we can say that they're now, and with this swing here, we can say that there's bullish pressure back on the market. And we can see prices pushed up. We can see we have another wide range candle here. We have a bit of indecision here. So we can see prices pushed right back up. Closed halfway, though, roughly halfway. So we can see we've probably got a little bit of equilibrium from both sides here. So naturally, it would be natural to expect that there'll be a period where perhaps the sellers may overwhelm, or the sellers or the supply will overwhelm demand and will push price back down for this period. And we can see this is occurring. And we can see from our last candle here, though, we can see the price is actually pushed back up and closed at the high. So it's only natural here that we can expect here, we've got demand coming back in here, we've got bullish order flow coming back in here. So we would either expect prices to maybe pause for a moment or continue in the move up. So I know that was pretty long, but I hope that explains, and if you need to, go back and look at this a couple of times and look at it with your own eyes and apply these principles that we've applied to this market. Now, or this chart in particular. Now, we're going to look at just a couple of different ways to portray the chart, or just to draw the chart, but the principles are exactly the same. So let's have a look. So in our next example here, this is exactly the same chart, but it is now a swing chart. And the point here is that we're seeing the swings in price without the candle. So we can see the big swing here. We can see the pullback here doesn't really achieve much. We can see another swing here. So we can say that this demand has been great through here. Supply has overwhelmed it for a little period. We can see that we've got bullish sentiment has come back in. Demand has been greater than supply. And we can see through this swing here that we have a period where supply is greater than demand. But we can see after a couple of struggles here, we can see that price is basically made up its mind, and we can see that bullish sentiment has come back in, led to rising prices where demand is definitely greater than supply. In the last few candles, we can see the price is creating another swing where the supply is overwhelming the demand, where the sellers are overwhelming the buyers. So from here, we're expecting, though, from the previous price and from the previous total range here, or total swing, we can say that there's definitely demand for this product, for this stock, for this currency, whatever it is. And we can say for this total swing, or this total leg, we can say that there's bullish sentiment, which has led to bullish order flow. Let's have a quick look at another example. So here's another example where we can see prices pushing up. We can see we've got suppliers entered the market here, which is likely profit taking. We can see demand has come back in, bullish sentiment. We can see suppliers come back in. We can see this period here is probably a period of indecision. But we can see that demand has become greater than supply. And we can see that then the bullish sentiment has led to continuing higher prices. And we can see the sentiment through this swing. We can see the mild swing here. And we can see that sentiment, bullish sentiment, has come back in. We've got a bit of a pause here. So you can see mild profit taking. And we can see our big bullish swing here, where the bullish sentiment has continued through, leading to the bullish order flow. And we can see obviously this price bullish pressure coming in on each swing. We can see here that we have supplies greater than demand. And we can see that we have a little bit of the angular momentum here is reasonable, but we can see that before long, buyers have stepped back in, created bullish sentiment. We've got mild profit taking, and then we've got bullish sentiment has continued. So let's have a look at this one in a slightly different way. This is a line chart. So we can see the closing price of each candle. So we can see here, what this does is clear the chart up a little bit for us. So what we can see here is our bullish pressure, bullish sentiment, neutral sentiment, bullish sentiment leading to bullish order flow, leading to bullish pressure. We can see here we have suppliers greater than the demand for this down move. So we can see that there is bearish sentiment here, and we could say that each of these swings here shows bearish pressure. We can see where buyers have stepped back in, demand has stepped back in and created a swing, bullish swing. We can see here we have mild profit taking where supply has been greater than demand for the period. But we can soon see that demand has stepped back in, led to bullish sentiment, which has led to bullish order flow. So in summary, and I hope this has explained everything that we've learned so far. I hope this has explained it in chart form, and I hope this is actually starting to make a little bit more sense. I know it's a lot to take in, but I think when we actually see it in chart form, candle form and chart form, I think you will find that it will all start to come together. So in our next video, what we will do is do a summary of everything that we've learned in this module so far and everything we've learned about market principles. And we'll then do a conclusion of module 4. So thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.